Did anybody happen to pick up my book? That's not it. That's not it. Did anybody pick up a book that they borrowed? No, it's not that one. Oh, it's right in front of my face. Like no surprise there. No surprise.
It's got too much.
Yeah, I do that kind of this one sometimes. That'd be fun. How you doing?
You can still talk to each other. It's all right. It's okay. There's too much attention on me right now. I can't take the pressure. Can't handle it. All right. I got some cool people sitting around. I'm telling you. Believe the ideas you hear today.
I need not accept the ideas. I need not accept the ideas. I need not accept the ideas. And none of this will matter.
It won't matter if you accept it or not. It won't matter if you accept it or not.
None of this will matter, no, because it is.
The use will give the meaning, and we'll show you. The use will give the ideas meaning, and we'll show you that the ideas are true.
I need not ideas I'm gonna
actively resist. Some of these ideas I'm gonna actively resist. Some of these ideas I'm going to actively resist. And it won't matter if you resist it or not. It doesn't matter if you resist it or not.
Because the
use
will give them meaning.
give them meaning.
Will give them meaning.
Give it meaning.
And show me that the ideas are true. Show me.
Show me, Spirit.
Ideas are true.
Come on and show me. Tell your higher self.
Ideas are true.
Come on and show me. Ideas are true. Come on and show me. Tell Spirit. Ideas are true. Come on and show me that the ideas are true. Holy Spirit, show me that the ideas are true. Holy Spirit, show me that the ideas are true. Holy Spirit, show me that the ideas are true. Holy Spirit. You want to open your mind?
Yes.
You want to hear something?
Yes.
Different? Well,
Some of these ideas
I'm gonna find hard to believe. Some of these ideas I'm gonna find what?
hard to believe. Some of these ideas I'm gonna find hard to believe. Some of these ideas are gonna seem quite startling. Some of these ideas are gonna seem quite startling. I am not asked to judge the ideas at all. I am not asked to judge the ideas at all. I am not asked to judge the ideas at all.
None of this will matter. It won't matter. None of this will matter.
This will matter, no,
Because the use will give it meaning. I said the use will give it meaning. And show me that the ideas are true. My higher self, my greater self, show me. I want you to show me. You got to show me. I'm willing for you to show me the truth. Show me that the ideas are true. 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 Woo, woo. All right, I love how we do the appearing in a couple of minutes. Everybody just appears. It's so cool. Thank you for coming out. It really moves me that you're here today. But not just because of the fact that the all-important, death-defying, changing our reality Super Bowl is happening. But because it's such a beautiful day. And you decided to still come in and hear some stuff that'll freak you out. So I want to acknowledge y'all for that. You know, I'm just want to take a second here to be able to monitor myself online. I just can't get enough of looking at myself. You know what I'm saying? It takes me hours to get out the bathroom. Pass by the mirror and I just get riveted out. I can't believe what I'm looking at. I really can't believe what I'm looking at. You have no idea. But it's all good. Is there anybody sitting on either side of you that you may not know, or that you haven't had a chance to greet?
I'm not.
And those of you that are watching online, thank you. Welcome to A Course in Miracles. You get a chance to interact with each other while you're online. We get a chance to do it in here. And it's such a blessing. It's such a blessing. Earl Purdy, anybody here for the first time? What's going on, brother?
What's up?
I'm so glad you're here, man. I'm telling you, I had to study 35 years to be worthy of you coming in. Just to get to your level. So you can walk in the door. I had to do serious work. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask you to close your eyes. I'd like to get you to search your mind. Put your mind up against the wall. And I'd like you to search your mind for any fear thoughts you may have about anything. In other words, think the way you normally think. I'd like you to think about some anxiety-provoking situations. Something that's been on your mind that you've been using to cause yourself any form of anxiety. I'd like you to think of some offending personalities. Some events that have offended you lately. Think about anything else about which you've been harboring unloving thoughts. So I'd like you to note all these unloving thoughts that are coming up casually. And then I'd like you to repeat to yourself, I could see peace instead of this. Think about the thing that you're frightening yourself about that's going on right now and say, I could see peace instead of this. Think about this person that offends you when you see them coming down the aisle in the grocery store. You race with your basket to another aisle. And then you tell yourself, I could feel peace instead of this. I'd like you to think of that event that you've been thinking about. Maybe that even happened years ago that you haven't been able to let go of. And tell yourself, I could see peace instead of this. 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 I could feel 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 peace instead of this. I could see peace instead of this. Think about it. I could see peace instead of this. I could see peace instead of this. I could see peace instead of this. I could feel peace instead of this. I could feel peace instead of this. So if you noticed, when I was looking at that Course in Miracles lesson, which is 34, there was nothing in that, and I just did part of it, but there was nothing in that lesson that told you to be positive, the way that it started off. Notice it started off saying, search your mind for fear thoughts, anxiety-provoking situations, offending personalities or events, or anything else that you've been harboring unloving thoughts about. Note them casually and then say, I could see peace instead of this. So the Course in Miracles is not asking you to be in denial about what you feel. It didn't say, act like you feel great when you don't feel great. The first phase of it was, think about who is upsetting you. Think about what you're upset about. Think about what you're feeling fear about. Think about what you're giving yourself any kind of depression about. That real spiritual growth is not being in denial about what you're feeling. It's feeling what you feel and then tell yourself there's another way you could look at it. And that's what it is that's happening when you say, I could see peace instead of this. There's a way for me to feel peace instead of this. I'm feeling this, but there's another way I could feel about it. Right? So don't feel like you're a spiritual failure whenever you are not feeling happy. You're just doing part one of the exercise. So you should feel proud. Some of y'all have been doing the hell out of your workbook lesson. You just haven't gone to part two. You've been, he says, consider what you emphasize. He says, try to recognize the direction of your fantasies about yourself don't matter. That's a fantasy about yourself. And the Course then says, and the last part of it, I love it, he says, tell yourself specifically, I can replace my feelings of depression, anxiety, or worry. I can replace my feelings of depression, anxiety, or worry. This is lesson 34. I'm in the workbook. I'm just going to be in it for a minute because I got something else I want to focus on today. So I can replace my feelings of depression, anxiety, or worry, or my thoughts about this situation, personality, or event with peace. So you think about the situation, the circumstance, and then you tell yourself, I can replace my feelings of depression, I can replace my feelings of anxiety, I can replace my feelings of worry, or my thoughts about this situation, personality, or event with peace. Feel what you feel, say I can replace it. Feel what you feel, say I can replace it. Feel what you feel, then tell yourself I can replace it. Feel what you feel, and then tell yourself I can replace it with peace. Peace is not boring. Peace is not sitting in a cave contemplating your navel for 3 hours. Sound kind of freaky to me. But peace is total fulfillment. The Course in Miracles definition of peace is that it's total satisfaction. Total peace. So you say, I can replace my feelings of depression, worry, and anxiety. I can replace my thoughts about this situation, personality, or event with total satisfaction and total fulfillment. I can choose, I can feel total fulfillment instead of this. You in a relationship, you can go, I can feel total fulfillment instead of this if you're feeling any kind of anxiety in any relationship that you have or any situation that you have. I got to tell myself what the alternative is. I can replace it with what? I can replace it with peace. All right. So, if you have a book, I'm going to go to lesson 193. I love it when you go so beautifully consistent. I can just count on it. The name of this lesson is All Things Are Lessons God Would Have Me Learn.
I love that response.
All things are lessons God would have me learn. And what I want to invite you to do right now is give yourself, if those of you who have a challenge with the word God, because you haven't given yourself an opportunity to give yourself a new interpretation of God other than what you learned as a child, so therefore when you hear the word, you feel some resistance, which means you haven't done your work yet, because you're responding to what you learned about the word and not actually to the word. Does that make sense to everybody? So when you say God and answer, ooh, what you're reacting to is interpretation that you're giving that word. That word is cool. It's just what you learned about the word sucks. Right? So therefore, it brings up a lot of resistance. If it brings up resistance. But that's, bless your heart, that's your issue and not mine. So I'm not going to have a problem about saying God, 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 God. Creator, 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 creator. Universe, 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 universe. Love, 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 love. That which created me, that which created me, that which created me. That gives me a sense of relief. To feel like it's not all up to me by myself to make everything happen from my own wisdom, my own level of wisdom and knowledge. That's the scariest life you can live. Like you can lead. There's a life that you only count on your intelligence.
Oh my God.
You know, come on. You know. And I'm not putting you down, you know. So I'm going to say something that Course in Miracles is really controversial in the way that it says things. And what it says in the very first paragraph is, God does not know of learning, yet God's will extends to what God doesn't understand. The Creator is so together that if there was anything else that it didn't understand, it would handle that too. If there was a such thing as something happening that it didn't understand, it would handle that too. And he says, and that your Creator wills that your happiness that is inherited of your Creator wills that your happiness be undisturbed. Your Creator wills that your happiness be eternal, that it lasts forever, that your happiness lasts forever. The universe wants your happiness to last forever, and wants it to not only last forever, but continue to gain scope. Your happiness is not only going to last forever, it's going to continue to expand and grow. That's what the Creator wills for you. And it also wills that not only does it expand eternally, that also that it expands in the joy of full creation. So not only does your happiness last forever, is what the universe wills for us, it's that it never ends, it always increases, and is full of joy and creation. And eternally open and totally limitless in it. And I'm going to say that again, because we somewhere along the line look like we went amiss. Something happened. Based on this right here, there's something going on that we need to take a look at. You know what I'm saying? It says love, which is the Creator, love wills that your happiness be undisturbed, eternal, forever gaining scope, eternally expanded into joyful creation, eternally open and totally limitless. That's God's will for you. And so not only that, it says your Creator's will also provides the means to guarantee that it's done. So your Creator's will also provides a way that actually happens to you. Now, that's an interesting position, that we've been willed nothing but happiness, and then there's a way provided for us to have it. How successful have you been at it? I mean, I'm serious. How successful are you at creating happiness in your life all the time, that never ends, that you never threaten about, that completely increases and there's no lack of joy, and you feel like you're being totally created the way you've always wanted to be and always should be? So there's a very beautiful line in the Course in Miracles that goes, resign now as your own teacher. Okay? And he says that's exactly what you would do if you would be honest with yourself about the results of you trying to make yourself completely happy. I'm not talking about happy every now and then. I'm not talking about happy just because you had a date and you had a good time. I'm not talking about happy just because you got laid. I'm not talking about happy just because you got a raise. I'm not talking about happy just because you lost some weight. I'm not talking about happy that's temporary. That's the kind that the Course in Miracles says we create. We do temporary everything. We can do it for a little while, provided that we can, guilt trip the person into submission. Because that's what the Course says, our method of getting what we want. Big old guilt trips on those who are special to us, which takes the form of anger and upset and depression if they don't act the way you think they should to make you feel good. Then it goes on to say, God's will provides the means to guarantee that it's done. Then it says, your Creator sees no contradiction, but you believe you see contradictions. And so thus you have need of a guide who can correct your erring sight. You need help. I need help. He says we need guides, right? And then it goes on to say that guide is going to give you vision that will lead you back to where perception ceases. So I need a guide to lead me back to where the way I see things ceases. I need spiritual guidance that takes me back to the way I started to see things so that it can stop. I actually need a guidance to stop the way I see things. You with me? It says, then it says God doesn't perceive at all. Love doesn't perceive at all. That's interesting. Because perception is judgment. So when it says God or love doesn't perceive at all, it's talking about love is not interpreting, love is not judging, love is totally accepting. So real love isn't perceiving because perception is judgment. You're seeing me right now. Instead of saying you are perceiving me right now, I could just as accurately say you are judging me right now. I could interchange those two terms and they would be exactly synonymous because that's what perception is. It's judgment. It's your evaluation, your interpretation of what you're looking at based on what you've learned and experienced.
Yeah.
Is that right? When you look at me, you're looking at what you've learned. All right? That's why you call this a shirt. Because you learned to call it a shirt. That you've been taught to call it a dress. You said, Earl, that's the cutest dress you got on that I've ever seen. And I'd say, you should have seen the one I had on last night. Okay, now. I got pretty legs. But many That's right. I don't have to look at nobody's legs. I just look at my own legs. That just cuts out the middleman right there. If I want to pinch a butt, I pinch mine. Then I don't have to worry about nobody to be objective. See, I'm getting on to this stuff about your happiness comes from you. That's what it teaches. Your happiness comes from you. Okay. Take myself out on a date. I've never not been lucky. Not once. Not one time. Okay. Get other people involved. It's always kind of up in the air. What's going to happen? Maybe it happened, maybe it won't. All right. I know. Thank God for the internet because I attracted people and the people that come here. See, these are my folk. You know what I'm saying? The people who wouldn't appreciate me, they just won't watch. That's what, you know what I'm saying? And then you end up with the people that feel okay with you, and then the people that don't, you don't even know they exist. And then if they do, you block them. So you got total fanatical control. If I hear a comment I don't like, blocked. I don't have to hear it no more. I don't need that. Okay. You know what I'm saying? We would be happier if we learned how to block.
Yeah.
Block some thoughts we need to block, some feelings we need to block, some people we need to block, some relationships we need to block. We need to learn how to block because you also can unblock. You see what I mean? So everything that we were experiencing is giving us spiritual lessons about how to be happy, but sometimes we're not really paying attention to it. You know, like it says here. It says, he says, your Creator doesn't perceive it all, yet it is your Creator who gives the means by which your perception is made true and beautiful enough to let the light of heaven shine upon your perception. And it is your Creator who answers what you would contradict. It is your Creator that keeps your sinlessness and your innocence forever safe. So love, someone that loves you, what is real love, it wants to keep your innocence forever safe. Someone or something that loves you doesn't want you to feel guilty. Someone or something that loves you doesn't want you to feel guilty. It's not trying to make you feel guilty. Have you ever stayed with someone in a relationship out of guilt and then told yourself you were in love?
You got to sacrifice.
You got to sacrifice. You got to sacrifice his love. Is what the world. That's what the world believes. That sacrifice is love. That if you really love somebody, you sacrifice for them. Somebody that loves you never wants you to sacrifice for them. They wouldn't want you to sacrifice for them. And there's not a need that the Creator can't meet. So whatever that need is, you thought you were trying to get met by getting this other person to sacrifice was unnecessary, because that need could be met by who and what would be willing to meet it right now, and it wouldn't be a sacrifice to them. You're in a thought system that's based on the idea that you can't lose.
Thank God.
This thought system is based on the idea that if you follow it, you never lose. Notice I said thought system, way of thinking. And then it goes on to say, so these are the lessons that God would have you learn. What are the lessons that God would have you learn? That your happiness is eternal, it should be undisturbed, forever gaining scope, and that your perception can be made so true and beautiful that the light of heaven and happiness shines upon it. And you can attract so much love to you that has only one goal, is to keep you aware how juicy and innocent you are forever. That's what I'm talking about. These are the lessons God would have you learn. When he says these are the lessons that love would have you learn, God's will reflects all these lessons. So do you know that when you're experiencing the will of God, this is what you are experiencing, that undisturbed happiness that never ends. That's what it is. And it says these thoughts reflect your Creator's loving kindness to you. So these kind of thoughts reflect loving kindness. So if I want your happiness to be undisturbed, if I want your joy to be unending, if I want your creativity to be experienced all the time, if I want you to only see things that you love to see, if I want to support your innocence regardless of how you feel about yourself, then my thoughts are reflecting the will of God for you. I'm becoming a living example of God's will for you. I'm a living example of what your Creator wants for you, if that's the way I am with you. The Creator doesn't become any more real to us than what we see coming through each other. That's why when things go good and it seems like people are loving a person, they'll say, wow, I'm feeling the grace of God. Notice they're saying that because of what's coming to them through their experience and the people in their experience. So when I say, looks like I'm really experiencing the blessings of God, it's because of what appears to be coming through the people in my life. So if God is going to ever become real to us, it's going to become real to us through the way we allow the love to come through each other to each other. But what fear-based people do is they sit around and they wait for everybody else to prove to them that the love is there. So they don't give anything. They're just waiting for everybody to prove to them that they deserve love. I'm waiting for you to give it to me, and then when you give it to me, I'll give it to you. So, each lesson has a central thought, the same in all of the lessons. The form alone is changed. So, with different circumstances and different events and different characters and different themes, apparent but not real. I say it again. Each lesson that comes to you from God has a central idea, but it's the same idea in every lesson that you get from God. Only the form of the lesson will change. Only the appearance that the lesson comes in will seem different. It will look like the lesson that you're getting from your Creator is only one lesson, but it's going to look like it's coming to you through different circumstances. This lesson is going to look like it's coming to you through different events. This one lesson is going to look like it's coming to you through different relationships and characters and themes. So that sounds like our everyday reality. Our everyday reality sounds like different circumstances, different events, different characters, different themes that are apparent but not real. But all of these are the same in fundamental content. And this is the lesson. Forgive, and you will see this differently. The lesson behind everything you think you're going through and everything I think I'm going through in my life right now is forgive, and you will see this. I know it looks like you're having this situation and circumstance with your family right now that you've been dealing with since you were a child. Forgive, and you will see it differently. I know it looks like you have a financial situation that's been driving you crazy that you'd like to get straightened out. Forgive, and you will see this differently. I know you have a health condition that you've been wanting to see differently, that you want to get healed. Forgive, and you will see this differently. I know you have a job, and when that job, you sometimes wish you didn't have that job and you were doing something differently. Forgive, and you will see this differently. Now, to forgive doesn't mean I'm going to overlook what I don't like because I'm on a high level of consciousness. To forgive doesn't mean you did something to me, and because I'm going to try to be spiritual, I'm going to try to overlook what I think you've done to me. Because that's what most people think forgiving means. It means that you're giving something. The Course in Miracles says people don't like to forgive because they feel like they're giving something to somebody that they don't deserve. And that's why when you say forgive, people never get excited. I've never seen it happen yet. Notice that you're all not exactly jumping for joy. Some of you all are fighting to stay awake. Some of you are nodding off. Some of you are conscious. Nothing about forgiveness tends to ever excite people that I've ever noticed ever in any class I've ever taught, really. As they'll say it. But when you really say forgive, the mind thinks, oh, you hurt me, and I'm somehow supposed to see that as being okay, and I'm not going to be upset with you anymore for doing that. So how do you know that that must not be the true meaning of forgiveness? Because it doesn't feel good and you don't want to do it.
Yep.
If it doesn't feel good and you don't want to do it, then it means you're not looking at what that means correctly. That's what the truth teaches. That whenever you're seeing something correctly, whenever you're in touch with the real truth of something, then you feel joy and you feel peace. And so if you're feeling anything other than joy and peace, then you're misperceiving whatever the situation is, up to and including any tragedies that you think you see happening in the world.
Wow.
When you see death correctly, you'll feel joyful. When you see sickness correctly, you'll feel joyful. When you see poverty correctly, you'll feel joyful. When you see wealth correctly, you'll feel joyful. When you're seeing things correctly, it doesn't take your peace away. When you're seeing things correctly, you know there is no loss. When you're seeing things correctly, you know there is no death. When you're seeing things correctly, you don't see any lack. So until you're seeing things correctly, then you have feelings that don't make you feel good. And that's your way of knowing you're not seeing it correctly. That's heavy. That's intense. But then I promise you that's what I was going to do. That I was going to say something that was not what you ordinarily been taught or think. But if you be honest with yourself, it makes sense that really if God's will for me is perfect happiness, then if I'm experiencing anything other than that, I'm not experiencing God's will for me. So therefore I must not be following it. I must not be listening to the guy that's teaching me, which means I must be listening to a plan I made up. And that's why I'm not happy. And because I've joined with other people with made up plans, then we call that society. Now I'm surrounded by a lot of people who have made up plans that don't make them happy. And so I must be right. Because so many other people are doing the same thing, we must be right. So the problem is I just haven't found the right person. I just haven't found the right situation. I just haven't found the right circumstance. That's the problem. It's not my whole approach that's the problem. I just haven't found the right woman. You see, I haven't found the right man. I haven't found the right job. I haven't found the right financial situation. We don't get that. The real issue is not the fact that you haven't found the right person. The real issue is you don't know how to make yourself happy. And you're using the same methods that other people that don't know how to be happy are using too. I've met rich people that were happy and rich people that were unhappy. And I've met poor people that were happy and I've met poor people who weren't happy. So that means everything in the world is neutral. So then it goes on to say, so let's give you another term for forgiveness that from the Course in Miracles, which is forgiveness is correct perception. It's true perception. That forgiveness is you having the correct interpretation of what's going on. So when you forgive me, you have the correct perception of me. When I forgive something, I've got the correct perception of it. And what's the correct perception? A way of looking at it that gives me some form of peace. The correct perception is the way of looking at something that when you look at it that way, it gives you more peace. Let me give you an example of how quick you can change your emotions and feelings, because people think they can't change their feelings very rapidly, and that's not true. Let me give you an example. I walk in a room and another person walks in the room and they step on my foot, and then I think they did it on purpose, and then I'm instantly angry and I'm instantly upset. The person says to me, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean to step on your foot at all. I really apologize for doing that." And I immediately drop my anger. Immediately. I didn't have to go to therapy. I didn't have to go meditate for 2 or 3 hours. As soon as I got a new interpretation, which was that he didn't step on my foot on purpose, new interpretation, then I let go of the anger immediately. Immediately. That's true of every feeling that you have. If you had the correct perception of it, just like I got the correct perception when the person said they were sorry, then all the feelings you have that keep you from being happy would drop just like that. Now, the reason why it doesn't is because you don't want to let it go. You know. Hold just a second. I want you to be with it a minute. I want you to be with what I've said a minute. When you change your interpretation, you change your feelings. Your feelings come from your interpretations. Your interpretations come from the meaning that you give something. So all of your feelings are coming from the meaning that you're giving everything in your life right now, and everything I'm giving in my life, doing in my life right now. So therefore, forgiveness is to see it correctly. So you could say to forgive is to see this differently. That forgiving and seeing things differently are synonymous. You could say forgive means I will see this differently. So then people say, okay, I want to see it differently. Well, how do I see it differently? The way that I see it differently is to study how to see it differently. This book is full of 1,122 pages of how to see things differently. If you never pick up the book, if you never buy it, if you never study it, if you never read it, if you never do the workbook lessons, you won't have the interpretations that will allow you to have the joy that is promising you. And that's what Course in Miracles students let their ego make them do. It makes them do everything but give the material itself attention and study. Because here is the new interpretation. So they just try to make it up on the fly. Oh, I'm supposed to be seeing this differently. So then they go to their own bank of knowledge to try to come up with how to see it differently, which they really don't want to do because they're mad. So what you want is to get in touch with your inner guide called the Holy Spirit, because what's so cool about getting in touch with your higher self is that your higher self will bring the joy and the love and the happiness to you that you don't think you deserve, even before you change your mind enough to give it to yourself all the time. That's the advantage of not trying to do spiritual things alone, is that God, if you will, can give you things that you deserve before you think you deserve it. Because if you had to wait until you felt like you were deserving of everything that you wanted, you'd have the life you have now.
It's cold.
The life you have now, if there's any part of that life that you don't feel happy about, it is the result of the gift that you're giving yourself based on what you think you can create for yourself, based on how much you think you love yourself. That's the slow route. And so when it says God gives us the means for us to have that unlimited happiness, it means our Creator gives us the way to do it, that we don't give ourselves the way to do it. And the way that we learn that is through a spiritual practice, whether it's the spiritual practice of A Course in Miracles or any other path. So I'm not a person that's sitting up here saying, this is the only way, and unless you do it this way, you're not going to get it. This is the way for the people that it's the way for. That's how discriminating it is. This path is the path for people who want it. It's not the path for people who don't. But what's so cool about it is there's a path for you that matches you perfectly, even if it's not this. That's how much love you were created in. You were created with so much love that I don't care what your mindset is, you can be reached. All right, you had a question.
So I appreciated your example that you gave of someone stopping on my foot and then apologizing. And then that, through that interaction, gave me a new way to see it.
Right.
And then I experienced forgiveness, and that is the way to see it differently. Okay, so what if they didn't say sorry, or what if they did? Well, what if they did it on purpose? And
no, okay, that wasn't the point I was trying to make. The point I was trying to make had nothing to do with whether or not they forgave or not. It had to do with the way you interpreted what they said. So, because the point I was trying to make was when you change your interpretation, your feelings change.
Right.
That's the only point I was trying to make. I wasn't trying to make the point of what if they apologize or what if they don't apologize. The point I was making was the minute you changed your mind about what happened, you were no longer angry for whatever reason. Okay, and that's what. And the point that I'm glad you said that. And the point that I was also making was that all feelings are that way. That every feeling you have is coming from the interpretation. It's like, just okay, let's use what you just said. Let's suppose the person didn't say, I'm sorry. Then you stay upset. Right? So that's still you staying upset because whatever needed to happen for you to see it another way hadn't happened. Which still meant your feeling is based on the way you're seeing it. And so you're still hanging on to it because what the new interpretation you needed, which was them saying they're sorry, didn't happen. Suppose that your feeling good had nothing to do with anybody else saying they were sorry. Suppose your whole life and everything you felt for the rest of your life had nothing to do with how anybody else felt about you or anybody else said to you or anybody else did anything to you. You know what you'd have? Happiness all the time. You'd have peace all the time. Because all the peace that I don't have is coming from unforgiveness, and unforgiveness is me not seeing things differently.
Yeah. So another way of saying it would be releasing your resistance to what is.
Releasing and not making your happiness dependent on it. Right. See, that's the most important part. Yes, it would be nice if you apologized to me if you stepped on my foot, but I don't want the rest of my day to be ruined because you don't.
Yeah.
Why should I want the rest of my day to be unhappy because you didn't? So what would I do? I would feel that feeling and go, you know what, I can feel peace instead of this. I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm really upset, not because they stepped on my foot. I'm really upset because I'm not seeing it differently. That's why I'm never upset for the reason I think.
Yes.
I'm really upset because I see only the past. What do you mean? I'm seeing the way I learned in the past to respond. And that's what I'm doing. So I really see only the past. See, all these are Course in Miracles workbook lessons. So you're supposed to get to the point that when any of those things come up, you have something instantly for you to say to remind yourself of the truth to get you out of it. That's the purpose of the workbook. So that you can know what to say to yourself if the person doesn't apologize for stepping on your foot.
What if they do it on purpose?
It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how you choose to interpret it, because the way you interpret it is going to determine how you feel. Then deal with it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, first let me realize that I'm the one who's creating the way I feel about it. Then I will ask Spirit, what should I do? Then Spirit might tell me to talk to him about it. Spirit might tell me not to talk to him about it. Spirit might say, walk away. Spirit might say, write him a letter. Spirit might say, run him down. No. No, I don't think that's going to be Spirit. Say, run him down. That was Curl. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying be a doormat. I'm saying empower yourself in every situation that comes up by you remembering that if you see it differently, it will disappear. that if I'm willing to interpret it another way, then I don't have to lose my peace. And remember, when you don't lose your peace and you feel peace, you have clearer vision and perception. So when you're feeling peaceful, you're at the optimum level of consciousness to handle anything that occurs. You're never in that level of mind when you're upset, angry, and afraid. So, you know, if you were injured on the side of the road, who would you want to help you? The person that comes up and goes, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what are you going to do? Or the person that comes up and say, just lay calm, breathe. I'm going to call 911, don't move. You always go, fine, because the person that was calm and peaceful and centered was in a better position to help you than the one that was freaking out. Okay? And that's true in every area of our life. So never think that I'm saying be a doormat when I say be forgiving. I'm saying be operating at your optimum level, which is a place of centeredness and peace.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're Hannah.
Yeah, I'm wondering I love these teachings in the sense of we're moving towards more joy and happiness. And one thing I encounter is when I experience that joy and happiness, a pullback on because of the reaction of others. So I'm wondering in this piece of forgiveness, when I'm feeling joyful and happiness and big, and I feel the resistance maybe of others, or I feel my own resistance sharing that happiness.
Right, thank you.
Does the forgiveness is that a sense of forgiveness for myself or forgiveness for others?
Well, it's a sense of forgiveness for yourself, the fact that you're even letting yourself experience the joy. The fact that you're letting yourself feel joy is self-forgiveness. Because we're supposed to be demonstrators of how happy a person is when they follow the laws of truth and love. That's our function. Our function is to be in the world and so fulfilled by letting our inner guide guide us, letting our inner guide guide us, letting our inner guide guide us, that we are living demonstrations of the kind of life and the beauty of that life that a person leads if they really dedicate themselves to the truth and the spiritual path. And what could be more depressing than for you not to be able to be the witness of what you think you were born to be? You know, you're the most miserable person in the room, and then you tell yourself, I'm here to demonstrate joy, but I just want to kill myself last night. So then you don't really feel like you're fulfilling your function. Right? So Spirit is saying, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to teach you new ways of interpreting your experience so that you never lose your peace. If you never lose your peace, you can hear your inner spiritual guidance that's giving you very specific instructions every moment, all day, of exactly where to go, what to do, and what to say that would allow you to have a totally fulfilling life. We're all being instructed all day, every day, by our inner self, called the Holy Spirit, exactly how to have everything that will fulfill us. But it says we don't know it because we're not listening to the voice for God. We're listening to ourselves. We're listening to the voice we've made up and following it, and then we go over the cliff and then blame it on God. Which all you're doing is listening to yourself. You chose that mate. You chose that job. You chose that situation. You gave them your phone number. You said, let's go out. You said, I wanted to be with you. Hey, God didn't do that. You did that. Now, the beautiful thing about the Creator, according to this, is it's like a GPS. You make a wrong turn, it reroutes you from where you are. Right? So you make a wrong turn, what does that mean? Look at your relationships or have a situation or circumstance that's making you feel depressed or unhappy or sad. And Spirit takes you right where you are in the relationship that you're in, if you're open to it, gives you another way to look at it that frees you up to go back toward the direction of your joy again.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to be willing to study how to do that. You're not going to pull this off winging it. Okay? You're not going to wing it. You're not going to just wing it. You're going to have to learn how to go within and hear the voice inside yourself. If you notice, if I was a cult leader, I'd be saying, you do what I say, how I say it, listen to what I'm saying, do it right. If you notice, all I'm saying is go within, hear within, pay attention within, learn how to look at things for yourself within. Here's a way that'll show you how to look at some things within, because no true teacher wants anybody to be dependent on them. No conscious being wants to be anybody's leader. A conscious being doesn't want to be a follower. A conscious being wants to walk side by side. Because by being side by side, you're never alone.
Yes.
If you're leading me, you're walking ahead of me and I'm walking by myself. If I'm following you, I'm still walking by myself. If we're on this path together, listening to a common truth, we're walking side by side. And that's the path that's not lonely. And that's the path that's enjoyable. And so when you come together like you're doing now, you are joining. And that's the easiest way to achieve it. Because the ego cannot win if you're not alone. It's only when you separate that you only listen to the voice that depresses you, and there's no other voice to listen to unless you're studying or meditating or going within. So when you feel afraid, the temptation is to separate. When you're unhappy, that's when you don't want to come. When you're sick, you don't want nobody to know you got diarrhea. You know what I'm saying? So when you're upset about stuff is when we isolate. And then when you isolate, then you listen to the voice of fear in yourself. And it tells you everything that's wrong and that's going wrong. But if you are with somebody else who sees you for who you really are, and you're depressed, if they're a conscious being, they never buy into anything you're saying about yourself. Because remember, love only wants to see the sinlessness and the beauty in you. So you could think it's bad about yourself if you wanted to. But if you're with me, I'm going to remember you the holy, innocent child of God that only deserves love, and that's only what God wills for you. While you're telling yourself a lie that's depressing you. So you can't stay in it because I'm not going to be supporting you in it. And I'm going to be a reminder that what you're telling yourself is a lie, because obviously you deserve love because I'm giving it to you. You can see me giving it to you. So I'm witnessing that everything you're telling yourself is crap. That's what a relationship is for. So that we never forget our divinity and our beauty and our power. That's why we're in relationships.
One of the beautiful things that you're helping me realize more is that peace is not passivity. It's only when I'm in peace that I can hear God's leading and direction for me, and direction as to what to do.
That's right.
And it's not passivity, because I've always
it's proactive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I study this book every single day. And if I'm lucky, I study 2 hours at least. And I say if I'm lucky, because it's so pleasurable. It's so joyful. It feels so good. It makes everything work out in ways I never could have dreamed of. I watch people struggling all the time needlessly because they won't take any time to invest in their spiritual study. And that's it. Because it's not going to be you that makes you happy anyway. What you're doing is learning the right way of thinking that will allow you to be made happy. That will allow you to have happiness extended to you. If I open those blinds, I don't have to coax the sunlight in. If I open those blinds, the sun just goes poof, right? You are the blinds. You are the blinds. You're your own blind. And as soon as you change your perception, which is what the spiritual practice is, the sunlight of your joy will come through your life because you've gotten out of the way. And you getting out of the way is you changing your thinking from a fear-based thinking, separation-based thinking, to a love-based, unity, freedom thinking. Would you acknowledge yourself over here? That's right. I'm going to do a quick little recap before we leave, and I'm going to do the financial expression of appreciation right now. I really, really, really appreciate you sharing with me in my full-time teaching ministry. I'm able to do it because of God and your generosity, so thank you. Thank you. You know the way, Lord have mercy. I see you correctly. I see you. I love you all. The problem is you won't feel my love until you love me. I say it again, you won't feel my love until you love me. So you can be surrounded by people who love you that you don't feel. Because you're not in touch with the love inside yourself. That's right. So it doesn't mean you're not being loved. It means that you don't know you're loved. Yes, sir. And you're loved all the time. Those of you online, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation because the teachings are helpful, then go to my website, earlpurdy.com. And also I want to work with you on a one-on-one. So those of you who are open to mentoring and also counseling, then I can work with you. I've been doing this 35 years, and I can save you some time. The purpose of a relationship is to save you time. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's not going to be anything you're going to come up with that the course hasn't already solved. So I'm available. I'm available. Those of you online, same thing. Just go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and I do sessions over Skype and over the phone also. And I use my knowledge of astrology and numerology, which is awesome in its truest nature. Not the comic book level, but the way that it really was originally created to be used as a means of communication. There's a divine plan for your life. You're miserable because you're not doing it. Yes. There's a divine plan for your life. You were not just dropped here haphazard to try to make it and find your way. All the time you spend in trying to find your path, you could be on your path. And then be enjoying your path. Oh, I found my path. Dead. You waited a little too long. You might want to let your path be revealed to you. Okay? And also I want to invite you to come to, this is an incredible church, the Unity Temple. Come to the 11 o'clock service. Sheila, the minister here, is awesome. The people here are awesome. Come check it out. Come check it out. You might find that you feel really at home and seen. Sometimes you can be in really big congregations, you can hide. Or you can let yourself be a part of intimate things and you really make friends and you really know some people. Just like, that's what I love about my classes.
Me too.
I have what I call a flow-through ministry. People flow through. Yeah, I don't have an expanding ministry like you have 100 people one week and 300 the next, and then you got 1,000 and then you got 10,000. That's never been my ministry in 30 years. It's always been people come in and they go out. So I've had to learn a lot in my life about letting people come and go. Like breathing, letting people come and go. Because it's easy to get attached to people as wonderful and beautiful and kind as you are. You see what I mean? So I have to always learn how to love you, but let you go. Love you and let you come and let you go. And I found that that's what I need to do with everything and everybody. That's how you stay happy. You know, you never hear a beautiful song if it was just one note. A beautiful song is a lot of notes. And as a musician myself, I had to learn how to let go of one note to play the next, to play the song. And so sometimes you're with people and you're trying to make them a one note. Where you're trying to make that the only note you ever hear. The only note you ever play. And then you feel sad when that note changes. You know what I'm saying? It's like when somebody got a hit record, but they don't want you to hear it because they got to play the next note. That'd be crazy. So let people come and go in your life. Let things come and go. Love them completely while they're there. And let them go if they need to go. Because you know what? There's another note coming. And that note is usually better than the note that left. If you're on the spiritual path, when someone leaves your life in a relationship or any other capacity, the person that replaces them is usually someone that you enjoy better than the one that just left. Unless, of course, you didn't learn your lesson. Okay? Then you get another opportunity to do what you didn't do last time, but you should have done it. Only this time it'll be a little bit more painful. It's painful not because it has to be painful, but it's painful because you know you should have known better, or you should do better. And so don't beat yourself up while you're learning. All right? All right? All right. So forgive, and you will see this differently. These are the words the Holy Spirit speaks to all your tribulations, to all your pain, to all suffering, regardless of its form. These are the words with which temptation ends and guilt abandoned is revered no more. These are the words which end the dream of sin and guilt and rid your mind of fear. These are the words by which salvation, which is peace, comes to all the world. I will forgive and I will see this differently. Another way to put it is, I will correctly perceive and I will see this differently. I will correctly perceive and I will see this differently. Forgive and you will see this differently. Correctly perceive and you will see this differently. And so when you put it in some form of juice, you hear it. I will forgive and see this differently. Forgive and you will see this differently. Forgive and you will see this differently. Forgive and you will see this differently. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Forgive and you will see this differently. I forgive and I will see this differently. I forgive and I will see this differently. Forgive and you will see this differently. I ask for the correct perception of this. I ask for the correct perception of this. All I want to do is rock with you, shout it out, tell your friends too. Love is me, love is you. This is what we want to do. All I want to do is rock with you, shout it out, tell your friends too. Love is me, love is you. This is what we want to do. Oh yeah. All things are lessons God would have me learn. Say it with me. All things are lessons God would have me learn. Say what? All things are lessons God would have me learn. All things are lessons love would have me learn. Now, everybody that feels like saying it with some juice, I'd like for you to say it with me. And some of you that just want to listen. You may not want to participate or say anything. It's okay to be quiet and receive it. For those who got some juice in them right now, and they don't mind saying it, would you say it with enthusiasm and joy? And that way everybody's doing what they want to do. And that makes for a harmonious energy. All things are lessons God would have me learn. What? All things are lessons God would have me learn. You online. All things are lessons. Gotta carry on. Gotta carry on. What? All I want to do is what? Rock with you. All I want to do is rock with you. Shout it out. Tell your friends to. Love is me. Love is you. This is what we want to do. What? All I want to do is rock with you. Shout it out. Tell your friends too. Love is me. Love is you. This is what we want to do. All I want to do is rock with you. Shout it out. Tell your friends too. Love is me. Love is you. This is what we want to do. All things are lessons love would have me learn. All things are lessons love would have me learn. Give it up, Holy Spirit. I love you. You're so cool. Woo! Awesome. We have an incredible class on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. called The Way of Mastery. I stream it, but also it's here at the church. Come check it out. It's another path. It might be one that resonates with you. And on Thursday night, at 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, I'm doing an online streaming class, only online. It's called The Course of Love. Right. And it is to the heart what the Course of Miracles is to the mind and perception. Incredible material. It's called The Course of Love. So I do that, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time streaming. And then Tuesday, 7 o'clock is The Way of Mastery. And 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, we got the Course of Miracles. So the universe is trying to give us the means to achieve what it's talking about. Resign as your own teacher. Recognize you don't really know, but there's a part of you that does know. And that you're willing to commit yourself to letting that part of you start to teach you, and that you're ready to create a relationship with that part of yourself. And then watch miracles start to happen that will blow your mind. You're not meant to struggle. You're not meant to struggle. You're not meant to struggle. I love you. Thanks for coming, y'all. Whoa. Woo. Hugs are available. What's up?